Hello, fans of 442. How are we? Adam here. Was that a good Scouse accent? Because today we're talking about none other than...
Hello, Reds. What a win that was then.
Yes, that's right, Mr. Curtis Jones. Now, I've been ill this week with suspected norovirus, but turns out that it must have just been Curtis Jones fever, because he is some player. What am I talking about? Right, let's just talk about him. So yes, Curtis Jones, of course, scored 2 goals the other night against West Ham and is now a little bit in the limelight, but he's quietly been the reason going into last season as well as to why Liverpool have sustained such a winning run towards the end of last season into this one, and why they are kind of challenging at the top of the table now. He's been a silent... Obviously, people have been talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold drifting into that pivot role, but really Curtis Jones has been making them quietly tick, and the stats really do show this. So I'm going to hit you first off the bat with the money shot, the main stat, the one that will blow you away. So here it is. Curtis Jones has the highest tackles in the attacking third of any midfielder in Europe this season. And what that obviously tells us is a lot about Klopp's system, because he likes to retain the ball by counter-pressing should his attackers lose it. He likes to smother teams in the final third and win it quickly for that sharp turnover of possession as quickly as possible. That paints a picture of Klopp's system, but if you also look at his passing map, you can see here that he really is a dictator of tempo, a lot of short passes, neat passes, and he likes to retain the ball and keep things simple, for want of a better word. But what this passing map also shows, of course, we know that he likes to operate on the left-hand side of midfield in that 8 role, but also when Robertson or Tsimikas, for instance, will, progress forward from that left-back position, he will drop into left-back and fill the role there. And he will also do it when the likes of Luis Diaz or whoever's on the left wing want to drift inside. He will then occupy that left-hand side as well on the wing and hug the touchline and keep things ticking in the same sense. And it's actually illustrated perfectly in the West Ham game from the other night. So you can actually see here, it's Gakpo in this instance who's drifted inside, and Curtis Jones has got the nous really to sort of just see where the space is and, keep the formation quite rigid that Klopp wants to implement. But he's a very malleable player that's not afraid to deviate from the traditional 8 position. He really does fill in for other people, and he creates a chance out of this as well from the left-hand side. But it's just an example of Curtis Jones being willing to occupy other players' spaces when it's vacant. But just to go back to Curtis Jones being a tempo dictator, there's also a stat that really illustrates this well as well, which is quite simply put, but this is over the year of 2023, so the calendar year of 2023. In terms of short pass completion percentage in the year of 2023, he's got 95.4% as Curtis Jones, and the highest in the world for this year has been Toni Kroos with 96.7%. So he's not far off the top in terms of being at the very, very upper echelons of the game in terms of just keeping the rhythm of a game ticking and playing these short and simple passes to just keep the flow of a game going for his team. He also fares pretty well when being compared to other top 8s in world football in his position. You can see here that in 2023 he's got more accurate pass completion percentage than the likes of Kovacic, Pedri and Ilkay Gundogan as well. And you can see here as well that he plays a fairly decent amount of forward passes per 90 as well, compared to his counterparts who are elite in these positions, so the likes of Frenkie de Jong and Mateo Kovacic. It's not quite as good as them yet, but of course he has got time on his side and he's a very, very young player in the grand scheme of things. And it's also exemplified as well in his creative stats here. Now, of course, again, not quite as developed as the elite counterparts in his game, but this is a player who's only really been a mainstay in the Liverpool side for the best part of maybe 6, 7, 8 months, really. It's not even been the whole of the calendar year. But the telling stat for me here is his accurate progressive passes percentage, which is quite high with 87.12%. Which is better than everyone in this list apart from Pedri, who many are touting as perhaps the best young player in the world in that position. But it just goes to show, as well as being a tempo dictator, he really is a player who likes to play these progressive passes and look to create assists and chances. And by occupying other players' spaces as well, he gets himself goals, which we saw last night against West Ham. So let's analyse that game and a few other elements to his game from seasons gone by and games gone by as well. So I think first off, before we look at any goal that he actually scored last night, there's a chance that he created very early on, which typifies what Curtis Jones is all about. This shows us here where Curtis Jones really likes to receive the ball, which is of course, as we know, in this sort of left 8 position of the pitch. But what he does here, which a lot of other players wouldn't really do in other systems, is he drives with the ball, he's not afraid to beat a man, and he drives towards the D of the penalty area, which is unseen for most players in this position. He then drags it over to the right hand side towards Szoboszlai and Elliott, and the chance is squirmed, but it was a chance created nonetheless from Curtis Jones driving with the ball and not always being this tempo dictator that I've just said he was. I'm not going back on my word, but what I'm saying is he's the best of both worlds. And again, before we go to the goals, let's go to another stat comparison. So again, I'm comparing him here in 2023 to his sort of number 8 counterparts in European football. But first and foremost, you can see his non-penalty goals per 90 is right up there with Pedri. It's better than İlkay Gundogan, who many people, or many City fans in particular, are saying that they really miss. You know, they miss his goal-scoring threat. He's statistically better than Gundogan in 2023 in terms of arriving into the box and getting in the right areas to score goals. He's better than İlkay Gundogan, who many people on the eye test alone have said is the best, arguably in world football, at goal scoring from his position. So this really paints a picture in itself. And he's also doing it whilst outperforming his XG per 90 as well, which is even more impressive. This means that he could potentially be scoring goals from range or scoring goals that he's not necessarily expected to score, which we kind of saw last night. Now, where does Curtis Jones really like to attack from and particularly take his shots from? Well, if we look at games gone by in the past, it's usually from this left 8 position, and it's usually cutting inside on the left-hand side of the box. He likes to really shape up and hit these bending shots into the far right corner. Often they can be telegraphed and they can be blocked by defenders and read quite easily, but when they are hit and they're not blocked, they're usually very threatening towards the goalkeeper. We saw one at Brentford away here, which was an absolute pile driver when he was given enough time and space to get the shot off. And you can also see here with this goal away at Leicester that his spatial awareness and knowing where to attack is really exemplified. You see this cross towards the back post from Salah, and Curtis Jones just arrives and side foots it with a cultured finish into the far corner. So it's really, you know, a goal like this smacks of maturity for a player that's so young playing in that 8 position, to have that sense for goal and to know where to go at the right moment, as well as be able to strike it from range and beat a man and bend it in that top corner. He's got a variety of goals to his catalogue, which is something that other midfielders in this position can't quite say. So it's very unique, and it's a very valuable asset for Liverpool to have. So the goals last night, why were they so impressive? Well, they basically encapsulate everything that I've just said about Curtis Jones. So if we look at the first one here, you can see here he receives the ball in this left 8 space, and what he looks to do is feed the ball in with a forward-thinking pass to Darwin Núñez, who's of course playing up front, but has kind of drifted out wide to this left space. Once Núñez receives the ball out wide, well, where is the space, you ask? Well, it's probably through the middle where Núñez has vacated, so what does Curtis Jones do? He makes the attacking run, and he's not afraid to make it. Núñez finds him as Curtis Jones drives forward, and right, okay, you can ask questions about the goalkeeping, but nonetheless, he does find the back of the net with a striker's run effectively from that 8 position. So again, as well as being a tempo dictator and not being afraid to drive with the ball and create chances, he's also willing to get in the box and score goals himself. And again, the second goal that he scored, he picks up the ball in the exact same position where he has done all game, where he drove with it in the first half to create that chance on the right-hand side, or where he just scored the first goal from, but this time he opts to not pass and displays dribbling prowess, really. He drives into the box, fake shots it, and drives it into that far corner, which, again, is something that we've not really seen. I said he likes to drift inside and hit those shots into the far right corner, or he will ghost to the back post and, you know, find the right space in the box. But this one, he's got a solo goal in his locker too, so he really can do it all from a goal-scoring perspective, as well as the dictation of play when compared to his other elite number 8 European midfielder counterparts. So the stats and the data show that he's one of the top performing players in Europe in this position right now, and he should be a mainstay in this Liverpool team for potentially years to come, I think. I think he's a fantastic player. So this begs the age-old and slightly boring question: should he go to the Euros? Well, he's not really featured in the England squad much, truth be told, but I don't think that that should really be the case, because right, we're all adults here, of course, so I want to have a fairly mature discussion with you all in the comments when I read them anyway. I suspect none of you think that Jordan Henderson should be going to Euro 2024. If any of you do, then feel free to, you know, the stage is yours in the comments below. Of course, he's took Conor Cody in the past for that experience, but realistically now, I don't think Henderson is a good enough player, or is at least not even playing professional football barely anymore, to warrant going. So we're not going to discuss Henderson. I feel like the one that Curtis Jones could perhaps push out of the team that many people want to go is James Ward-Prowse. Now, don't get me wrong, I rate James Ward-Prowse. I think he's a fantastic player, but what he is predominantly is a set-piece specialist. That's what we all know him for. Of course, he's brilliant from dead ball situations. And, you know, people have been saying for England, if we had that asset to our team, of course, with the aerial threat that we got with the likes of Harry Maguire and Declan Rice and John Stones and Harry Kane, that if we were to put balls into the box from corners or wide free kicks, it could really wreak some havoc. However, is that as vital when you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold in the team now? I'm not so sure. It's not something I feel is very necessary to have to double up on. And of course, James Ward-Prowse has scored quite a lot of non-penalty goals this season for West Ham. But realistically, what I think you want to do with an England squad is build on and build strength in depth with the profile of player that want to kind of sing on the same hymn sheet as the players in the system that you're trying to play. And of course, in terms of pressing from the front, that is something I'm sure Southgate would want to do. And Curtis Jones has exemplified that he can do that in this Klopp system. Having, you know, won the ball more than any other midfielder in the opposition's attacking third in Europe this season, that is a ridiculous stat. But also as well, to go back to his passing, Matt, this typifies a player that likes to take the sting out of a game, which is something that is invaluable in tournament football. Let's say we're winning a game 2-1 against high quality opposition, and we need a player who is perhaps less frenetic and can really just hold on to the ball and play cute, simple passes. Curtis Jones is that down to a T. And me personally, I'd rather take a player like that to supplement the squad than someone like James Ward-Prowse, who's perhaps a set-piece specialist, which is kind of a player that you'd bring on when you're needing to chase a game or get a goal out of nothing. It's a bit of an intangible James Ward-Prowse, whereas I feel like Curtis Jones is a safer bet. Anyway, guys, yes, you can let me know what you think about Curtis Jones in the comments down below. I hope my voice hasn't been too raspy, because I haven't had Curtis Jones fever. That was a little joke. I have been really ill this week. I've been struggling, and I'm still coughing, but I think I've got through this video fine. Apologies for my slightly raspy voice, but I hope you've enjoyed the video nonetheless. Let me know what you think about Curtis Jones. Don't forget to subscribe. I've been Adam Monk, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful weekend and Christmas as well, which is coming up thick and fast. So enjoy it, take care, and goodbye.